going to take the North and never give it back.
So that's a good pick. You get the corner. I got to go bold, right? I got to go bold for this.
Yeah, she's got some nice.
Welcome back to the Unbearable Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Brad Barron. Make sure to like and subscribe if you're out there on YouTube, and also rate the show 5 stars everywhere that you get your podcast. Happy Wednesday, Bears fans. What is going on? Hope your week has been good so far. So we're going to be breaking down the Chicago Bears versus the Minnesota Vikings today and talk about why this is a good test. This is a very good test for our Caleb Williams, and we'll break it down as we always do. Talk about the injuries, talk about the offense, the defense, the special teams, talk about some advanced metrics where this is going to be a very, very interesting test for Caleb Williams. But then, as we always do, who has the edge, and then break down the predictions. Joe, what's good? Bear down indeed. Hope you're doing well, my friend. I'm excited. I'm excited because it might be because I just ordered some TVs. So actually, I ordered one TV, and then I'm ordering a second one for the basement. So I'll have my Bears TV, and then I'll have the Red Zone TV. So the Red Zone TV might get more use for today. For Sunday. We'll have to see. But let's break this down, shall we? Let's get right into it. And let's start with our first segment and start breaking down the injuries. So what's nice, we don't have a gigantic injury report this week. We just have 5 people on the injury report. And what we have is Karan Amagaji, Ryan Bates, Elijah Hicks, and DeAndre Swift all not participating this week with injuries. Or on Wednesday with injuries. Swift with the groin injury, something definitely for us to monitor. My guess is he's probably going to be more of a participant a little bit later on, but we'll just have to see. Elijah Hicks with an ankle injury, and that's where we end up seeing us re-signing our safety, Adrian Colbert, just totally blanked on the name. But we got our safety back, so it looks like my guess, Elijah Hicks, probably not going to be out there this week, and we already know Jaquan Brisker already on IR. And then at the offensive line, we have Karan Amagaji, and then also Ryan Bates did not participate. Yet again, whenever we talk about injuries, the big thing for concussions, the big thing is going to be on Thursday. If Ryan Bates did not participate on Thursday, you can pretty much guarantee he's not going to be out there. My guess, probably not going to be out there since they took him out last game. Usually a concussion should take at least a week. So my guess is we're going to see a little bit of the same line that we saw before. But another big person to watch out for, Tevin Jenkins, limited participant today on Wednesday. So fingers crossed he can be out there, and then he'll be gone for like another drive, a handful of drives or so. But hopefully we can see him out there, because then the offensive line looks a little bit better and kind of getting some of those people back, because we need everybody going against this Vikings team, because this Vikings team is insane. This Vikings team is absolutely incredible. I'll pull up some of the stats. When you look at them, DVOA has them as the 4th best team in all of the NFL, which is kind of crazy. And then you also have the Bears at the 23rd team in the NFL. But when you go over to the defense and you go over to the offense, if we flip over to the defense if we flip over to the offense, this offense for the Vikings is pretty darn good. They're 15th overall in most yards per game, 14th EPA per pass, 13th passing yards per game, 13th EPA per pass, 21st EPA per run, and 19th yards per game for running. And then you flip over to this defense, and this defense is insane. This defense that we're going against, for those that are looking, you might be seeing this and going, it doesn't look that good. Like, the PFF grades aren't great. It's what Brian Flores is doing with this defense and how they trick people. This defense is first in the NFL in pressures. They are first in the highest rate of blitzes for a team at 37.7 blitz rate. So they're number one with that. They're number one in pressure rate at 29.6. They get to the quarterback. And the reason why they get to the quarterback, Brian Flores hides his scheme very well. And one of the things that, now that we're kind of talking about the Bears offense versus this defense, that is going to be the story of this game, is how does Caleb, like when we talk about the test, this is going to be a crazy test. Like this could be an absolutely brutal game because of this offensive line. They need to be together. They need to know where everybody is. And they also need to have quick passes lined up because they're going to put 6 up at the line of scrimmage. And then they're going to drop 3 back. And then they're going to have only 3 rushing. They will hit you with these crazy looks because that's what Flores is doing. So you really have to know where everybody's at, and everybody has to just be aware of the ball because they could be showing 3 and blitzing 6. They could be blitzing 6. They could be doing crazy little things, but that's what Flores is doing. He's really disguising a lot of stuff. So it's going to be a very, very difficult task for Caleb to just see what is even out there. But also, I see Joe saying Colin. Oh, so Colin Johnson being brought up. I like it. I like at least getting another receiver out there. I'm curious how much they'll use them just because they do typically use the 3. Maybe they just want to bring someone in because Gerald Everett just hasn't been doing it. We know that Thomas Brown is all about like, hey, are you actually doing your job? Gerald Everett simply not doing his job. So that might be why, kind of elevating Colin Johnson then. And Taco Man, what is good, my friend? Hope you are doing well. So let's talk more about this offense versus this defense because, wait, there's more about this defense. They are first in expected points contributed by the defense. This is a NFL reference stat, and their number is 61 expected points contributed by this defense. The next best is 48, and the next best, the third place team, is 28. So they're easily double the other defenses out there. It's just the way that Flores is having them play. It's crazy. They are first in EPA per play as well. So people that have the normal metrics might see, oh, they're 10th in yards per game. Oh, they're 28th in passing yards. This should be easy for Caleb. But when you actually watch what they're doing and watch how they're doing everything, this is a very, very good defense. And it's going to be a huge challenge for Caleb because they're going to be blitzing. And chances are, Brian Flores already knows they're going to be playing a lot of man, especially in a lot of systems with former people from the New England Patriots. The Patriots always played a lot of man. We're going to see a lot of man-to-man, and that is something that Caleb still struggles with. When we break down the tape, what I love about Caleb is how he dissects his zone. He quickly kind of sees and identifies where he wants to throw it and gets the ball out on time. So overall, this is going to be very difficult. You also look at their passing defense, 7th EPA per pass and 7th in points contributed by their passing defense. So yes, they give up the 28th most passing yards, but it's not that. It's stats like that will lie to you. This is a very, very good passing defense. And the rushing attack, the rush defense is first in rushing yards per game at 74.4 yards per game. They are third best in 3 points with 3.6 yards per carry. They are first in EPA per rush and first in EPA points contributed by rushing. So that's right. They're really good. Like, this is a very, very good defense. This is the best defense in the league. And now we were going against Cupcakes. We had the Packers, which was a good defense. And now we're going against the best. And this is going to be good for him to actually see this on tape. And now you have to be better. You have to be better. And something that I really like about this is that when you, like, for anyone that has a job, that when you have like an easy job, an easy culture that just doesn't really push you, your performance starts to slack. But if you are working for an awesome, like an amazing company, a very difficult company to get into, then everybody else around you kind of pushes you. And when you have this competition and you have this difficult situation, it can push you up. You have to get better. You need to prepare better. And for Caleb, you're going to be going against the best. This is great for him to at least get exposure into this rather than just the Jaguars and the Rams and other teams like that. So they're going to have some crazy looks, and they just will have to prep for it and get better from it. So something that I really want to see out there. But let's actually talk a little bit about this offense, because we've been talking a lot about this defense. And when we were breaking down the tape on Monday, this offense looks honestly very similar. I know a lot of people want me to say, oh man, it was so different. Thomas Brown is a genius and all this. It's a lot of the same stuff because it's the same offense. He's just calling different types of plays and different ways of plays, but Caleb looked comfortable. Even though that they were still able to get some pressure on him, Caleb looked comfortable. Caleb was delivering the ball, and it's the stuff that we've typically seen out of him when he's comfortable. Like we've said, the past 3 games before the Packer game, he looked uncomfortable. He looked pressed. He looked frazzled. He looked like tense. But when he's relaxed, when he's calm, he's getting the ball out fast. He's getting it out quick, and he's just being very decisive. And something that I also love hearing is I was listening to Cole Kmet break down Thomas Brown, and he's saying that Thomas Brown is just someone that is all about being accountable. That is his whole thing, is you have to be accountable, and it's about what you are doing. And that's exactly what we see. That's where we see Gerald Everett getting only 8 snaps last game, because the guy just has not played well. So I love that we're at least holding people accountable, because this offense, I think that is the difference. They looked good, and hopefully they can continue to do this. The run blocking still didn't look too great, so hopefully that can just get a little bit better, but it's going to be on Caleb. A lot of this is going to be on Caleb, because now you are going against the best run defense that is in every stat. They are the best run defense, period, that you're going to be going against. So ultimately, I don't think you can expect a lot from Swift, and also the way that they play with their linebackers like Ivan Pace Jr. I could see him being a spy, them saying, hey, Caleb can't beat us on the ground, so we're just going to send blitzes. We'll have a spy. They will have a lot of stuff covered for this. It's going to be about Caleb reading the blitz and getting it out to his players. So lots of crazy stuff. But also, what's good, Ron? He's saying I'm a Bears fan with the paper bag on my head. Yeah, yep. And then also Joe saying my matchup to watch is Thomas Brown versus Brian Flores. It will be interesting. Flores is definitely going to be putting a lot of, lots and lots of crazy looks. They have Andrew Van Ginkel as the new person they brought in on the edge, and same thing with Jonathan Grenard. And I got to say, I was not a Jonathan Grenard fan. Jonathan Grenard has looked great for the Minnesota Vikings, PFF's 14th highest graded defensive end in all of the NFL. They're still weak on the interior, and Dallas Turner has kind of had little spurts. He's still a very athletic defensive end that's out there, but not looking as great as I think a lot of people were kind of billing him coming out of Alabama. But overall, this is just a very tricky defense. So you're going to be looking at your wide receivers. They need to beat their one-on-one matchups. DJ Moore has done well with that. Jerome Adunze has done well, but we just need to see more consistency, in my opinion, out of like a Keenan Allen, someone that you can rely on to just simply catch the ball. And I think with the wide receivers, this is going to be big for them, because when you look at the matchups that they're going against, Stephon Gilmore is old. He looks a little long in the tooth right now. But then you also go to Shaquille Griffin, their outside corner. Yet again, 29 years old, getting up there in age, has not been as great as he normally has been. But Byron Murphy Jr. is a good slot corner. So the overall corners, not great at the defensive backfield. So it's going to be up to the wide receivers and tight ends. Win your matchups. That is a huge key. So if I'm breaking it down with keys, maybe I should do keys of the game for this. Because the biggest keys, first off, wide receivers have to win their matchups. That's going to be the big piece. And then also Caleb needs to identify his quick outs and not be afraid to hold on to the ball. They're going to be going after you. So really just be aware of what's happening and where those people are at the line of scrimmage. And so if you see that, hey, everybody's dropping on the left-hand side, they're probably sending some people on the right-hand side. You might want to be looking at that and then shifting over and just make sure wherever the blitz is coming, chances are somebody is going to be open. And then last but not least, offensive line. To me, it's not just winning your assignment. I think that obviously you want them to always win their assignment, right? Like, yeah, you always want them to win. The number one thing is being in the right spot. Because here, I got this stat, which I thought was kind of outrageous. Let me actually pull this up on the spot. I wasn't planning on pulling it up, but Caleb Williams has 59 quick pressures. That means like being rushed in under 3 seconds. So that leads the league. And 33 unblocked pressures. Think about that. 33 times he's been pressured without that person getting a hand on them. That is nuts. So to me, like we said, they're going to be throwing out some crazy looks. This offensive line just simply has to be in the right spot. That is going to be that's what Brian Flores' specialty is. So please, otherwise it's going to just be a little bit gross. A little bit gross. And I agree with Taco Man. They picked up a lot of the Packers blitzes that they threw at them. I also love the Packers defensive coordinator because when we were watching the tape, it was like, this is a very kind of, they had some like weird, like odd things, but it was like a safety, a corner being up on the wide receiver and then running back at the last second. So it wasn't like anything nuts that we've seen with some of the other blitzes, but the Bears did do very well against the Packers defense. So hopefully we could see more of that against this team. But let's talk about the matchups to watch out for and also my X factor. So my number one matchup to watch out for is I'm going to go with DJ Moore. DJ Moore against Shaquille Griffin. He's your number one wide receiver. We saw what he can do with the ball in his hands. To me, that's the guy that you just get the ball out to. Just consistently have him be the person. Make sure he's happy. Other things like that. But then my X factor for this, my X factor is going to be Rome Odunze. Because Rome Odunze has been the number one wide receiver for Caleb Williams. DJ is a better player. He can shake people off. We've seen what DJ is capable of doing. But Rome has been the reliable one that he knows he can go to when times are tough. Also, maybe we can get a couple deep balls thrown out to Rome or anything like that. Some of those back shoulder throws that we saw towards the end of the game. If they can get that going, that might be something fun to watch. And Taco Man agrees they need to feed Rome. And Shy Drax, what is good, my friend? Hope you are doing well. Hope the week has been great so far. But yeah, Rome, yeah, it is. It's that relationship. Like it is fun to watch. It is very, very fun to watch. Now, Keenan, I want to see Keenan block because he has still not blocked too well. But let's flip over to this defense and let's break down this defense versus this offense. Like we said, the offense that they're going to be going against is solid. It's good. They have Sam Darnold at quarterback. He is PFF's 12th highest quarterback, and Justin Jefferson still, in my opinion, hands down the number one wide receiver in the league. Just he's the wide receiver I'd take over anybody else. He's just so freaking good. And Jordan Addison, still another good wide receiver on the opposite side. So it's going to be a battle with him and Jalen Johnson, and I'll just jump to it. That's my matchup because Justin Jefferson is the best receiver in the league. Jalen Johnson, we paid him like one of the best corners in the league. So game on, right? That is going to be the big game to watch out for. But yet again, this offense that we're looking at, 15th in offensive yards per game at 341. And really, when you look across the board, they're just okay at every single thing. 13th EPA per pass, 21st EPA per rush. That's where you see them at 14th EPA per play. This is not a bad offense. This is just a solid offense. And also, when you look at it, Aaron Jones still is a good running back. PFF's 19th highest graded running back that's out there. And they can still move the pile. Even though they lost their starting left tackle, they brought in Cam Robinson. And Cam Robinson, not a great tackle by all means, but a serviceable left tackle overall. They've also had some injuries up front on the offensive line, but ultimately their weak spots are Brandel, the left guard, and Dalton Risner, who has not looked like what he looked like last year, having a 50 PFF grade at the right guard position. Also, Garrett Bradbury, PFF's 9th highest graded center, and Brian McNeil, their right tackle, 8th highest graded tackle. So really, when you're looking at the weak spots, it is those 2 guard spots. But besides that, O'Neal versus Montez Sweat is going to be difficult. And Montez Sweat still looks a little bit banged up, so I don't expect much coming from that side. But also, I want to bring this up about just Montez Sweat, because Montez Sweat, I have been someone who's been a little bit critical of him, because we've all been. We haven't seen the same production out of Montez Sweat, but I will say, going back and watching the tape, in what we did on Monday, for those that missed, one thing that I was very impressed with was how well Montez Sweat did against the run and how well he did against the pass. He was the only one doing really anything out there. So Montez Sweat, even though that he's not looking like the way he did last year towards the end of the year, he's still being disruptive against the run and still being pretty good in the pass. Just being a good, solid defensive end. Nothing amazing, nothing outstanding, just good, which is good. But you just want to see more out of that defensive line, because against the Packers, they really didn't create anything else. So we'll see. But let's see what y'all are saying out there in the chat. We got Joe saying Sam Darnold has like 10 interceptions. That's going to be a big thing. The interceptions are going to be key. Then also, Darnell needs to do something. Agree. And yeah, Taco Man, maybe if Brad comes down on him. Yeah, exactly. I need to yell at Darnell. I got to be like, you know what? Darnell is a terrible defensive end. He's the worst. But the only problem is I don't have a stat on that, like we did with DeAndre Swift. And then Jalen Johnson was vocal about frustration losing to Packers, but gets burned on 2 huge plays. Yeah, that's the thing. Jalen Johnson, like we said at the beginning of the year, he was defying logic, defying metrics, defying what normally happens after you have an amazing season like that. Like, defensive backs do not repeat unbelievable season after unbelievable season. Typically, they kind of regress a little bit. And that is what we're seeing. Yet again, Jalen Johnson is not a bad corner. PFF has him graded as the 19th. And yeah, he hasn't, because last season, the guy was unbelievable. Like, he had allowed like a 33% when targeted. So yeah, it wasn't going to be sustainable. He's still a very good corner, right? No concerns whatsoever. Pass rush specialist, my foot. I like that. But yeah, so ultimately JJ versus JJ, that's what we're going to be seeing out there. And also something that I would like to see, maybe a little bit more Terrell Smith. I like Terrell Smith out there. Stevenson, very up and down. There's a good handful of times he was getting burned. He's currently PFF's 84th graded corner out there. Stevenson is at least. So I agree with the PFF grade. Stevenson has not looked that great this year. So to me, I'm going to see more Smith. I ultimately want to see more Smith. We all want to see more Smith. Stevenson to me still has a higher ceiling, but Smith to me is just so safe of a player. And when you need that against Addison and you don't want to give up these gigantic plays, I like the reliability of a Smith. When you already have Gordon, you already have Johnson, you already have Byard, you already have these people that can make plays for you. But also, like we mentioned before, I don't expect Elijah Hicks to be playing, so we might see Jonathan Owens come in at the safety position. So we'll see what Mr. Biles has to offer. Because yet again, my guess is that because Colbert being signed ultimately and being brought back to the Bears. But overall, I think that what we really need to see, if we break down the matchups, right? JJ versus JJ is my matchup that I'm watching, but I think that's a little bit too easy. If I'm looking at a different matchup, it's going to be whoever's going again. It's going to be, I'm going to say Gervon Dexter versus Dalton Risner. We all want Gervon to be the next best defensive tackle in the league. And we've said this before, because back when he had better stats than Jalen Carter, I was kind of hampering that expectation. Like, listen, Javon is very good. Javon has gotten a lot better, and he's doing a lot. He's doing a phenomenal year. But Jalen Carter's Jalen freaking Carter. He's really good. He's one of the best D tackles in the league right now. While Javon Dexter is a really good D tackle. This is a good matchup that he should hopefully take advantage of. And that's something that we just have not seen Javon do, is really take over a game. We've seen him play well, but we haven't seen absolute dominance out of him. So hopefully that would be a great matchup to watch out for. But when I'm talking about my X factor, I'm going to go with Kevin Byard. Byard is somebody that can come up in the box, make some really big plays, and also someone that is always a potential interception waiting to happen. But this defense, all I got to say, please stop the run. And even though I'm a huge Jack Sanborn fan, maybe have a little bit less Jack Sanborn out there. The tape, every time that he's out there, he's doing something bad. And I know we want to stop the run. He ain't it. He's not it right now. I don't know what it is, because he used to be so good at stopping the run and so good at being in the right spot. He's just overcommitting, and it's just not good out there. So Kyler Gordon, keep him out there. Keep it in the dime. Just put a safety in the box. Do something like that rather than trying to overload with linebackers, because it's just not working with Jack Sanborn, unfortunately, this year. So now, let's flip over to everybody's favorite segment, the Special Teams Review, where it's usually the same stuff every single week. But this week, just don't get a field goal blocked, and also don't have an illegal play get that play blocked, because now I still haven't heard. I don't know if anybody else has heard. The Bears were talking about this, that they submitted that field goal block into the league to kind of get some more clarity on it. It's not going to be like all of a sudden the Bears win, but really when you hear like Pat McAfee talk about it and others, it was a penalty. Like we said after the game, it felt like it was going to be a penalty. It ultimately was, because they're pushing someone. You cannot be doing that. You cannot be creating leverage, especially in the middle. So ultimately, yeah, we got screwed. So there is that. But also, I think this just continues to be the same story, just Torrey Taylor and the value of that punter. If you get drafted in the 4th round, we just have to continue to see it, and we have to have these higher expectations. Personally, have not really seen that, have not been blown away by really anything. So we'll continue to have the same stat when it comes down to special teams. So now let's talk about who has the edge overall, because if we talk about the Bears offense versus this defense has the edge. This Vikings defense, like we've said, is literally the best defense in the league. They get the edge. I think it's easy to say. So they have the edge, especially with Brian Flores calling the plays out there for their defense. And then when we break down the Bears defense versus this Vikings offense, it's easy. It's the Vikings rushing attack. We haven't been able to stop a nosebleed when it's been coming down to the run. And then also when it breaks down to the passing attack, I haven't liked how we've been rushing the passer. And they have Hawkinson back as well at the tight end position. I'm going to give it to us. I'm going to give it to us. I won't make it a clean sweep for them, because we just have to clean up some stuff, because the pass coverage versus the Packers looked real sloppy. We were playing back, but it was just, the zones were just gross. Everything was bad. And I know chat, now we got a drink. I said gross out there, but it was a very gross defense that was being called. It was just nasty out there. But also the weather. The weather is another piece as well, because we are going to be outside. I know it was snowing up by me, so weather's probably going to be a little bad as well. But also, yes, running behind Brax all day long. Braxton Jones was looking very good as the run blocker. And actually, speaking of that, let's talk about predictions. So everyone out there in the chat, let me know your game predictions and give me a bold prediction. And while y'all are doing that in the chat, I want to bring this up with the offensive line. Because with the offensive line, PFF actually really likes the Bears offensive line. Because Braxton Jones is the 20th graded left tackle. Now, it's a 74.2, so it's not like an elite grade or anything like that. It's just offensive line play has been pretty bad this year. Tevin Jenkins, 13th. Coleman Shelton, 10th, but it's only 68.6, so center's bad everywhere. Matt Pryor, 68.9, which is 30th, and Darnell Wright, 26 at a 72 grade. Now, us watching the tape and us watching every snap as well, if you look deeper into these grades, like Braxton Jones, right? Someone sees this and goes 20th, and they get all mad, right? Even though that I don't know why we'd be mad that someone likes our offensive line, right? But people be people, right? Braxton Jones is 15th among 70 tackles at run block grade. So they love his run blocking. Like I've said, his rookie run blocking is some of my favorite tape that I've seen of an offensive lineman as a Bear blocking. Like it's just he has speed, he has some power when he run blocks that we just didn't see last year. This year we're seeing some of that. We're starting to see it really kind of come back up. But also, we see his pass block grade, which is 34th out of 75. So if you're telling me that he's average at pass blocking, I'd agree. So I think that if people are bent out of shape yet again, I don't know why, that describes it a little bit more. Tevin Jenkins, we know, is a good blocker when healthy. And then Matt Pryor has been good. The only problem is that when he's trying to do these reach blocks and other things like that, it hasn't looked good. And Darnell Wright has been up and down. Darnell Wright's been solid, but every now and again, there was where he let up 3 sacks basically one game. And then Coleman Shelton, when I look at this grades, the only one I disagree with actively is Coleman Shelton, because Coleman Shelton, he has some games where it's okay, that's solid, but there's other games it's just bad. It's just when he gets beat bad. But yet again, he's got the lowest grade out of all the other offensive linemen, so I do agree with that. So I think he's a little bit too high up there. But let's see the predictions out there. Shy Drax, he's predicting Brad will be drinking smoky shots next week. Probably. I actually need to get more of that. I went to Costco and I was hoping that they would have something smoky, but I couldn't find any. So yeah, I think I got to hit up the liquor store, get some smoky whiskey. That's my favorite. I don't drink a lot, but when I do, it tastes like a bonfire. Yeah, anytime I have a beer on the show, that's actually non-alcoholic beer. I just like the taste of beer. That's it. But you can't non-alcoholic a smoky whiskey for sure. But let's see what the predictions are out there. Taco Man, 17-24 Vikings. And Ron saying 54-3 Vikings. Ron, I hope you're incorrect with this, but you might be close. The spread is only 3 points, which I actually am kind of surprised at, because giving the Bears that much promise, right? I think that they're saying listen, the Bears were close with the Packers. I think they're saying hey, well, maybe something's different. I don't know. I think that this Vikings team is going to be good. I think that this Bears team is going to be fighting, but man, if they can keep it close, and lose, I think that we can have our heads high, right? If they lose by a touchdown, I'd be sitting here on the show being listen, they didn't get absolutely destroyed. But I'm going to say they lose by 14. I'm going to say it's no, because teams only score I'm going to say they score 20 and we score, I'm going to say 20-10. 20-10, they win. And bold prediction, I've been kind of skipping out on the bold predictions. It's hard because you can't really make a bold prediction on the defense hasn't done anything. And the offense, it's all down to Caleb. I'm going to say this isn't a bold prediction, but I'm going to say that Rome Odunze, not super bold, but I'm going to say Rome Odunze has over 70 yards. I'm going to say that Rome is the person that they primarily go to. And I'm going to say DeAndre Swift has 20 yards. 20 yards rushing into the game, because this is a very good Very good rushing attack. I might have to take the Swift unders because if he does great, awesome. I'm not buying it. But actually, this will be bold. Caleb will have 2 passes past 20 yards. That's bold because he's only completed like 1 in every 3 games or so. That's my thing. Taco Man saying 30-30 tie. That is bold. Komet has a game. I hope so too. Like, Komet just seems like he's going to be a Chicago Bear for the rest of his life. Whether we want to, whether he wants to, he's just going to be a Bear. Like, and I really hope he is, just because he's already he's got his podcast now. He's got all these things. He's ingrained with this Bears culture. But also, if you're still listening to this show and watching, make sure to hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe. Tell your friends all about it. Rate 5 stars. I hope you all have a great rest of your week and an awesome weekend. With that, Unbearable Sports Podcast, we are out.
Yeah, she's got some nice long hair, and you know that she's a